Dun, 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 dun. Good morning, my friends. How y'all doing? What's up? What's up? How's the audio coming in? And Ricardo, my man, what's going on? I think we're set. So what's up, Willie? How was your weekend? How's the weather? I'd like to.
Um, it was rainy this weekend, so but it wasn't too terribly cold, but it has been absolutely freezing. How's the weather there? Is it snowing?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
You're gonna be sick because you change climates so abruptly.
I know. Is like it was 90 and then it's 0. I came in actually wearing like t-shirt and flip-flops off the airport, so I have like no. I was just winging it. I don't mind though. I got the space heaters on, and so I'm just like hanging out in my room. But I do got to get out of here. You got to get Big Nasty to quit his job. If he does, we can really cruise around in the winter. I mean, it would all be a write-off. We would just open like a home office in a third world country. I suggest you ask him. All right, folks, how y'all doing? Welcome, everybody. Time to get to work. Sorry about yesterday's webinar. We had some technical difficulties. That was actually on our end. We gave our guest the link to log in as me, so he kept logging in as me and kicking me out of the webinar. Then I'd log in as me and kick him out of the webinar. We had a slight clerical error from just one of us, but we'll get that thing fixed up. So let's take a look at the markets, and we'll get a good game plan for the week, and get all this stuff going. Let me refresh this thing. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, and we do have our Bulls Vision starting up today. So let me see. Is it? Dun, 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 dun. Let me see if we can show everybody what's. I don't even know the link to it. Dun, 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 dun. So I got it up on my other computer. Boom, 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 boom. So essentially, you'll be having, for our Bulls Vision, it'll be literally you're just going in. You come into Bulls on Wall Street, Bulls Vision, and you'll have, you'll be linking right to the desktop. And so you'll have, everything I have. So I'll have like my TC2000, my quote tracker, all the different stuff, and you'll be able to get this bad boy rocking. So it'll be actually pretty cool. You'll have really, you'll see me just flipping through all my stuff and getting all my stuff going. And of course, you'll still have access to the chat and stuff like that. But it should be pretty cool. A lot of people. The reason we asked for it was that the reason we put it in is everybody used to ask, like, oh, how do you, I don't understand what you do at the open, I can't see this stuff, so on and so forth. And so, we put it together so that, you'll literally, we'll start it probably, we'll start at 9 o'clock, maybe 9:10 every day, and you'll see me just start going through the motions in terms of what I do in the morning and how I set everything up, and then you'll see me start trading. You'll see me start watching the stocks and live and stuff like that, and we'll have to tweak it a couple things right now because I'm on the run. It only shows one monitor, and so I kind of got my TC2000 and my quote tracker. I'll keep it on one monitor and I'll have to toggle back and forth, as we haven't added it in where you can kind of show the second monitor. But I also thought that might confuse people, so I think this first week we'll be working out the kinks to see, do people need to really see two things, or is it better to have it on one and just keep a more efficient screen? So we'll keep that going, and that'll start today. That'll start today. So let's get a look at the markets, and we'll get this party going. So I guess, well, first things first. Let's see. So, the market finally started to come a little bit out of this consolidation range that we've had. We've been consolidating for quite some time here, the last 8, 9, 10 days in a narrow range. So we did finally come out of it, but I would say the one thing that's a little bit weird, and I didn't trade on Friday, is that once we had the gap, essentially it was a big gap and crap, where we gave up the whole damn thing. So that doesn't seem that bullish to me, but that's what happens when you have big gap ups. Me and Mary Beth talk about this all the time. The toughest days in the market to trade are the days that you have this type of gap up, because all your stocks start rocketing at the open, and then there's really just there's no follow through, and you're looking for opening range breakouts and flags and stuff like that, and then the market just starts dripping back lower, and everything gets smoked out. And so you saw that a lot of these stocks that we like to trade. I mean, look at Beta. It pops up to 90, and then literally in 10 candles, so about an hour, you're down in the 85s. I mean, that's just a big flush. So just something to kind of keep aware of. When you have those kind of big gap ups, I always find those to be the trickiest day. Now, overall, I mean, it hasn't changed anything about the markets. We're on this what's called the 40 points a day type of diet. If you guys remember back in the day when we first started Pomo, you would just kind of grind higher and higher and higher, and it was really tricky to day trade because you didn't necessarily have the volatility that we like to have, and so that made it a little bit tricky. I'll say even for me personally, I mean, I was up 50, 60K in trades in September, and then come October it was 25, and November has been really the same type of thing. A couple weeks ago I did okay, and then last week was just so. This type of market is a little bit tricky when you just have the grind, because as day traders we love the volatility, and we're not necessarily having it. So when you have this tight range, the trades get a little bit more tricky, so you've got to focus in on really good plays. I find these are the type of these are the type of markets here where you get that grind that traders tend to lose a lot of money because they overtrade. They overtrade a lot because the market is bullish. It's in a bullish thrust, and there are stocks going. There's a lot of stocks going, but you have to be really selective because the indexes aren't moving that much. That means that when you have the go-go days, like this type of run-up phase, every stock goes, and so even if you're a really shitty trader, you can just throw a bunch of crap at the wall and you're going to make money. But when you have a grind, then it becomes a lot more stock specific, and you've got to be a lot more selective, and that's where the newer trader gets really smoked out because they're used to this, and they start to get really confident, and then things slow down and they overtrade. And so I noticed in ClickFund, the last 2 weeks, while this was happening, the amount of trades that the traders were making were up like 25% from when it was this. Because what happens is people get the jumping bean syndrome. They buy a stock, it doesn't go anywhere, so then they get another stock, and it doesn't go anywhere, so they get another stock, and then all of a sudden the first stock they were in starts to go, so then they sell that and go back into the first stock, but then they chase it because they get it after it starts moving, and the market's not moving much, so you're only going to get so much out of it, and then boom, it doesn't move, so then you got to jump into the next stock, and you get into this endless cycle of jumping around, and before you know it, you haven't really lost much money. You lose 5 cents here, 10 cents here, make 10 cents here, 5 cents here, but you made 20 trades. You got to pay commissions, and you take all these little small knick-knack losses. And it happened to me the other day. I lost $1,000, and all I remember is that I had an okay day because I lost 5 cents here, 10 cents here, and then before you know it, all those 5, 10 cents add up to $1,000. So that jumping bean syndrome, it gets us all. But that's something to really be aware of when you get the market getting so extended like that, and you're on that grind. I know this has happened to me my whole career, and I've been able to minimize the damage, over the years. But that is something that will really, really get you. So just be, aware of the different market cycles of where you're at, because that's the hardest market to trade. Dun, 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 dun. Same thing with NASDAQ. So you came out of this zone, and you can see with this candle, it gave the whole thing back. So that's, a little bit of a tricky type of day. Now, it doesn't mean that, we're going to flush or anything like that. We are in a really bullish market right now, but it doesn't make it, just because you're in a bullish market doesn't make it necessarily easy to trade. This is right now a little bit more of a stock picker's market while we kind of settle out this market. But overall, the picture of the market hasn't changed. We're essentially in a bull run. It just happens to be right now we're consolidating. Russell 2000, same type of deal. Gap up and gap and fade, gap and crap. Call it whatever you want. We're starting to get something constructive over here, and if we can come out of this zone, we'll be right back at yearly highs. And that'll tell us, if the Russell breaks out, then all hell will break loose, and you'll really see a potential nice end of the year run or beginning of the year run. This is the fun time of the market. This is the Santa Claus rally, the turkey rally. Between Thanksgiving and the New Year's is my favorite time to trade, because a lot of people go on vacation and there might not be big money flowing into the market, but the burritos, you guys know what the burritos are, right? The burritos start to run hot. So this is the market where every day you'll start to see these little turd nugs just start really flying around. And so it's really important to kind of understand that the structure of the market will change during this time. You'll start to see these little boogers start to run. Every day there will be some random low float PR, and people just start piling into it because there's nothing else to trade. So it'll give you some really good opportunities, long and short. So it's something to kind of keep an eye on, is to say, hey, we want to be looking for these type of stocks. The second part is, during this time of year, there will be some tremendous tax loss selling. So you'll have these plays that are really, really beaten down. So I like to run a scan for the stocks that have been beaten down the most during the year, and you'll see these type of plays that have been really, really just tanked out. And what you'll start to see is, once the tax loss selling abates, because all these people, anybody that's in this turd is basically underwater for the most part, minus this last month. But you'll start to see people unloading this stock, especially if they were holding in their IRAs or 401ks, and you'll see some tax loss selling come in. But come December, a little bit, the beginning of December, middle of December, they start to even out. and you'll start to see tremendous buy opportunities. If you guys remember, the guys that have been with me for a few years, when we used to trade a lot more small caps, you know, a couple years ago we had the motorboat, MOTR, FFN. We had all these stocks like literally within 2 days. We caught like 50% rips in them because they had been just beaten down from $20, $30, and they finally bottomed out a little bit under $1 in December, and we were able to catch really big rips in them. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye on and say, well, what's been really beaten down? You know, what's been really beaten down? So obviously you have coals, and you know there'll be some other types of plays, certain types of biotechs and stuff. So you know, a good thing is to kind of keep a list of these type of stocks, and usually it happens. It's more prevalent with the small cap stocks, you know, because you're looking for the stocks that were at some point billion-dollar companies, right, and now they're million-dollar companies, and you'll start to see the selling really abate, and then you'll be good to go. You'll start to see some real juice. Let's take a look at the watch list, and you know, we'll go from there. So I still got this ACHN on watch. You know, right now it's just it's starting to bottom out here. You can see it's just starting to even out here in this kind of 1260 range. One of the things that happens with this, you know, while a stock is flagging and making its flag, there'll be a lot of kind of fake starts. And so, you know, when you finally decide that you want to get in on this, try not to chase it up too high, because really till you get the confirmation that it goes, you'll get kind of these pop and drops, and that's what's been happening with ACHN the last week or so. You can see, like, you get a lot of these pop and fades. I got stuck in one just the other day. You know, you start off hot in the morning, and then you fade. See that? Start off hot in the morning, and then you fade. This time it opened weak and went hot, and then it faded. And so that's really a little bit tricky to trade. Pop and fade. So it's been doing this for a week now. You know, your first clue will be, well, when it finally pops and it doesn't fade, then you know you've probably got the day. Or if it starts off just regular and it just consolidates all day, and you start to see a push around 2 p.m., then you'll see that end of day run, and then the next day gapper, and then you'll make a go at it like that. Dun, 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 dun. I'm watching this fold still. You can see here we've got this $7 mark is really huge. If it gets there, you'll probably see a 760 push and then maybe a breakout. It does need to consolidate a little bit. You can see, like, on the daily, see how it's like when consolidations, you want to see it go sideways or almost coil down. You want it to coil down like that. When you have a consolidation but it's grinding higher a little bit, see that? How it's grinding higher? It loses its energy. It loses its focus a little bit, and then you get a lot more choppy action. You know, that's why the best coils are when they kind of come down like that, or they go straight sideways. But if you start to coil when you're going grinding higher, it makes things a lot more difficult. I'm still watching this BABA here. You know, we already got kind of its 20-day moving average bounce, so we'll have to see this thing kind of fill in. And if it can fill in a little bit and then take off, we'll get another run on it. Beta. So Beta is a stock that this is the day of its earnings. So you got a push from 81 to 92. So really nice push. You had a secondary follow through here to 95. It hit right into resistance, and now it's at a very good $10 pullback over here. You can see this 85 mark is a nice level of support. You know, what I like to do is kind of watch these 30-minute charts to really get a gauge of, you know, where the supports are. So you can see, like, this is the kind of zone that you want to be watching the stock start to bounce for. And so, you know, at that point, what I'll do is, you know, once I have a zone in mind that I think can hold, or I think where demand should flow in, then I'll watch those areas closely on smaller term time frames to look for clues in the price action that the longer term bounce is coming in. So what that means is that we have patterns on our daily charts, okay, and then we have patterns on our 30-minute charts and so on and so forth. And when you're looking for turns, you start to see bullish patterns emerge on shorter term time frames that will take you in to the longer term push. And you get your idea, though, of course, from the longer term time frame. So just something to keep in mind is that we start to narrow it down to look for those clues, and then that's when we know when something's gonna pop. Canif, it's already gapping down a little bit today, so I'd be looking for a potential short if it had opened up hot and maybe double topped here at 575. It's going to open up around its 200-day moving average. At that point, it's given back a lot of its gains, so I wouldn't be looking to short it. I'd just have it on my watch list and see what's about to go down. But at this point, if it's bottoming out over here, it's already dropped to quite a far away. That's kind of your short spot was on Friday. So now the kind of easy money's been over. So something like this, if it opens up weak, me and Mary Beth are talking about this. A lot of times they'll look like a bear flag, but they've already come down too far. And so when it bear flags like that, it's actually rounding, and then you tend to see like a big squeeze. And so that you have to be really careful with that. Before when we first started shorting these type of plays, you'd have something that was really hot and it would gap down like this and it'd go sideways, and that would be essentially a bear flag, and then you'd get the secondary push, and we were always taught to short those. Mary Beth was trying to get me to short that thing. Remember that, Willie?
Yeah.
And that's how we were taught. That's how I taught her. It just doesn't work like that anymore. These things stay bullish longer than they used to. So, you got to watch those rounding actions and use your EMAs as a guide, because when they start to flatten out, you can get a secondary squeeze on it. That can be a really, really nice ripper. And typically how I was taught trading is, we were, me and Mary Beth have been typically breakdown traders, and those are a little bit trickier now. When you're trying to short breakdowns on some of these stocks, you got to get in a little bit earlier and then kind of leg in on the breakdown. But if you short too low right now, you won't get the follow through because the market's just so bullish right now. I'm watching this coop. You can see this level right here is really important, and we've been consolidating now for 2 weeks on relatively low volume. If we can come out of here, we can get a secondary push. MBLY, I've got this on watch for a potential short. We had a day of rest after this nastiness, but this kind of 44 level is pretty important, and it goes back a little bit of time. So, keep an eye on this level here. If we need some shorts, we'll get an easy one in MBLY. Typically after a day of rest, if you're around a key level of support, the third day, as long as that key level goes back a while, you can get a flush without having to do too much more consolidation. VA, I'm still watching this stock, but typically how it's been working with these IPOs is they get really hot the first few days, and they do got to pull back a little bit. We did have a multi-day bounce already in it after a one-day steep pullback. I'd like to see a little bit more pullback in this thing, but this stock is making a great trader. I will say that. It's been working clean, and it's had nice trends and nice breakouts, so something to keep an eye on. And then this HABT, I haven't taken a trade in this yet. I missed the opening day where it ran from 30 to 40, but if we could get a flush in this, just like kind of how VA did, where you got that just a nice kind of retrace, half these gains, we'll start to get this thing back into a bounce zone. You got anything for me, Willer?
Yeah, I like For a daily chart, CYBR.
Okay, so I got this one on my watch list too. This is an earnings breakout, and we're starting to flag here. As long as we kind of hold over this level, we'll have a nice potential entry in this thing.
There's a nice gap in SRPT.
S to the R to the TTP. All right. We'll keep a little eyeball on this one. Man, you hear my dad yelling at somebody back there?
Who's he yelling at?
I don't know. I think, well, for his work, he has to deal with all Indian contractors. My dad hates Indians. He's only friends with Indians, but he also doesn't like Indians. He doesn't like working with them. So all he does is yell at them. Bum, bum, bum. What do we got? All right.
Let's see. Darshall wants you to look at BITA.
What about this? RNA?
Yeah, it looks like it's some type of. Is it a buyout?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We'll keep it on.
Saw it. It's up huge, but it looks like a buyout. Maybe.
What about CIMT?
Let's see.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, 3D Systems buy Israel Symmetron. How lame. Buy margin, agree, 600 for Provenza. How lame. Those would have been fun. TRT. Dun, 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 dun. Let me see here. EBG, Burger King, TSL, blah, 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 blah. TTPH, let's see. Maybe this TTPH. It's not getting much action pre-market, but it tends to trade a little bit hot and cold. Keep an eye on it. Dun 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 dun. Hey Johnny D, Kern and CEQP. Kern. Yeah, I've got Kern on my watch list too. Yeah, this is day one of its breakout. So this stock sucks to trade. At least the long side, I've noticed. It's a big. It just trades odd. But you know, this is ideally we would have hit this thing, you know, on Friday. You might get some follow through here. I think it's probably a little bit early to short this thing, you know, unless it made a big push today. You know, ideally you want to see 3 up days or so. These type of trades are a little bit tougher to trade, these gas utility type stocks. They don't get too much action. I mean, they just trade a little bit weird, but the pattern is definitely a bottoming pattern. You got a 1, 2, 3 here. You got 1, 2, 3. So it is a nice pattern. Leopoldo Sanchez. You know, this pattern is all right. I mean, it's getting some pre-market noise, but you can see this thing is just messy. The best breakouts happen when you get a clean daily chart. Johnny Davis, do you have a favorite one out of these? Let me see. UEC, Amen. I see what you're looking at here. So it could work. It's sloppy, but I see what you're seeing. AMED's a little bit better. I do like this look. This stock just trades really thin, so I don't have it on my watch list. NAC, Q, WFM. Blah, blah, blah. Damn, everybody loves DDD. This thing's been such a turd for so long. See, something like this, like I can't trade it. You know, I don't think CIMT really. Well, I don't know if it'll have much to do with it. CIMT is like a. CIMT is the size of bulls on Wall Street. You know, it's not. I don't think it has any effect on DDD, but you know, we might get some action just if the sector gets hot. Dun, dun, dun. I don't think Bull's Vision's closed. Let me see. Unless I just ran out of internet real quick.
It's still working for me. I see it.
Dun 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 dun. Willie, we'll have to, well, it looks pretty clear. Is the resolution okay? I have the ability to make the resolution better.
Yeah.
It takes up more bandwidth.
It's really good.
Okay. SPLK. The SPLK reaction to its earnings was not pleasant. You know, when you fade off, the same thing as MBLY, right? When you fade it off like that, that's not something that I get interested in. Darshil, you know, I'm not familiar with the 21 EMA. It's not something I watch, but what I've noticed about this market typically the last few years is you don't get steep pullbacks in absence of news. You know, you get the steep pullbacks when you start getting a confluence of factors, news with the Fed, interest rates, overseas news, terrorist news, like things of that nature. But in a vacuum, it just kind of grinds higher. All right, folks, I got to get to work. Folks, I will see you guys all in the chat room. Bulls Vision people, we are live. I'll be going through some motions and stuff like that and kind of getting my watch list ready. All right, love you guys. I will see you guys all. Hey, remember we rescheduled yesterday's webinar, so you know, make sure that we get our asses back in there, and we'll be good to go.
Yep, it's going to be the same link too, so but we'll be sending it back out.
Hey, Wahid, where the F word have you been? My man. And guys, this might be, we're making some tweaks to the Breakfast with the Bulls thing. We might just run it straight out of the Bulls Vision, or for our boot camp folks, we'll put an announcement in come probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yep.
All right, love you guys. Peace.